Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our American Horror Stories Season 3, Episode 8 reaction and review. This episode is titled Leprechaun, and I am wearing black here because I have come to bury this episode into the depths of society where it belongs, where we will never speak or hear of it again.
Oh my goodness. Every season, there's always going to be a couple of clunkers, and we have reached that point. Everybody get your gold coins out because we're going to pay to get that time back that we just watched this episode.
This was so bad. And I cannot even begin to discuss how it is so bad because there are some things that are so bad, it's good. There are
Mhm.
also some things that are so bad, but hey, at least they're over pretty fast and you can get on with the rest of your life. Like, I feel like that Drive episode that we always dog on, it doesn't feel like that was extremely long. So, as bad as it was, I kind of was able to sit back and feel like, okay, that is over. This was really long and really bad and really stupid and at times really boring. There was 10-minute stretches of this. I was just like, what are we doing and why are we doing it?
Yeah, the first three episodes that we've gotten for this second half of season three, they all felt too short. Like there was
Yeah.
much more story to tell. This episode was almost 50 minutes long, and there was definitely portions of this that felt like it was dragging. I even checked a couple times to be like, am I almost through this? Like it was just dragging.
I I wish I could sit here and say that there was a part of the episode I enjoyed. Like I wish I could be like, "Oh, at least, the visuals are great. Oh, at least like this one character stands out." It's just like, "No, I did not like a single thing about this. I even don't like the fact that you had 94-year-old legend June Squibb and you guys subjected her to being a part of this episode. Even our beloved Michael Cyril Creighton from Only Murders in the Building is there something that happened where Hulu was like, okay, we now are making you have to do this other show too because we need you in as many programs as possible?
It's possible. I mean, everybody seems to want to be part of any Ryan Murphy series that they can
Yeah.
be on. And I'm sure he was like, sure, I'll do this. But this episode originally I was looking forward to because I thought this was going to be more of the sort of campy, ridiculous. I mean, it's about leprechauns,
Yeah.
right? So I expected this one to be more monster movie, and it just did not deliver.
No, I didn't even think that the, quote unquote monster leprechaun they had was particularly scary or interesting or really anything like that. But rest assured, there's so much more we have to talk about here as to why this episode was bad.
And it's not just that the leprechaun was wearing like long johns.
Yeah, what was that about? Like, why have the
Thermal man stealing your gold. I'm
Hey,
just like, what's going on?
it's cold out there at night, but before we go any further here, hit that subscribe button because we are covering all of American Horror Stories Season 3, Part 2 throughout the day, and we've already discussed the number of episodes that thankfully are so much better than that, so be sure to check those out, as well as Grotesquerie, which we are in the midst of covering, another Ryan Murphy show that's produced a lot of interesting discussion so far.
We are also covering the Penguin exclusively over on our Patreon.
Mhm.
It is the only place that you can get our Penguin reviews. We will have a link below for you if you want to join our Patreon. It really helps Matt and I
Yeah.
here at the channel. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined.
Okay, so I think this is probably why I feel like this entire episode is a bigger affront to my feelings than almost any other one we've had. I love bank heists. I have made this abundantly clear on this channel over the years that
Yeah.
good, fun bank heists are one of my favorite things. This episode set back bank heists at least 300 years.
Yeah. It okay, I'm just gonna say the core group of guys that were putting together this bank heist,
Yeah,
either they needed to be way younger
yeah.
or they needed to have another reason to get Declan on board. This whole Eastie Boys thing, I'm like, how old are you guys?
Yeah.
You guys like 27, 28, 30 years old? Like, why would Declan care about this anymore? Like, when you're in high school, sure, that might work. But by the time you're in your 20s and 30s, that doesn't really work anymore. I mean, I just didn't buy into it. He's going to put himself at risk like this when he's the guy behind the security cameras I just didn't believe it. Like, it's not enough. Oh, you'll be one of the Eastie Boys, you'll be part of the crew. It's just like, well, I don't need to be part of the crew. I'm the person that's running security at the bank. Like, yeah, this whole town is, cursed and nobody can get a good job. But I have a good job. I'm working at the bank. So what do I need you for?
It just felt like there could have been potential when it comes to the setting, because this was seemingly, I mean, the Bruins were referenced at one point, so I'm assuming
Yep.
this is sort of like New England. And then you guys then proceed to cast like the most stereotypical, like Boston-esque characters. You mix this also with a little bit of West Side Story, because I kept thinking, oh, you're gonna be in the Jets, or you're gonna be in the Sharks at one point during all of this. And then you have the most dumb, stereotypical, like Boston bros. I kind of felt like at one point they were like, "Hey, before we rob the bank, you want to get the Dunkin' Donuts to right over?" I felt like you guys were just gonna do all of this stuff. They were just gonna be drinking, eating Dunkin' Donuts, doing it. It was just so ridiculous. All of these characters, I could not relate to any of them.
The thing for me that they really needed to set up better for the Colin character was that they were really broke, that he really needed to do this, that he was going to be part of this. Sure, if they're being like, oh yeah, we could, get $1 million out of this. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But I could also, catch a crime and I'm in jail for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be able to meet my daughter. I'm not going to be with my woman. Like, is that worth this kind of a risk? If I'm living in a, pretty decent house, which he was,
Yeah.
he wasn't making a ton of money, but, he has a trade that he could make some money at, maybe he has to travel a little further to be a welder somewhere else. He was going to be okay. Like, not only that, but it seems like Haley's family has some money. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, old money. It doesn't matter. It's worthless. Like, that was kind of what he was saying. I'm like, but it's not, though. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, they needed to give him real motivation, not just I want to do better by my family, because you guys weren't doing that badly. I feel like maybe if they had put them not in a decent house and maybe had put them somewhere else where they were really struggling, bills are piling up, he's not able to get food on the table, like something that really pushes him to do something like this, then oh, you could have $1 million, Eastie Boys forever. I'm like, no,
Okay.
no, miss me with this one.
You guys can do so bad it's good. Like, it's fine. We like episodes sometimes that are so bad it's good. Like the best
Bro
example,
house, bro house, bro house.
The episode The Naughty List that had Danny Trejo playing evil Santa. That was terrible, but also good
So
because
good.
it was so cheesy and so over the top, and there wasn't such a attempt to ground it in reality. But
Yeah.
here they're trying to ground it in reality. And because you're doing that, all these little things you can't overlook, like the idea that Haley, the fiance, is coming from old money and that she has something, or that this guy, like you said, he has a trade. This is not a Walter
Mhm.
White situation where Walt realizes that, he's got cancer, his life is falling apart before his eyes, he's being mistreated by everybody he wants. That's like, this guy has his Eastie Boy bros.
Yeah, he has nothing to lose, Walter White. He's like, oh, I'm going to die anyway, so I might as
Yeah.
well get this money together so my family's taken care of when I'm gone.
Yeah.
That desperation or that need just wasn't present.
No, there was no reason for him to go down this road with all of these other people who act like you said, sort of like they're 5 years old, like they're all gonna have their little clique and they're gonna go in and infiltrate this plan, which, by the way, was also not great. Yeah, sure, there were a couple elements of it that made sense. Okay, we'll throw the speaker up on the roof so that the cats will distract the security guard, aka Howard from Only Murders, and like,
Which is a show that we're also covering here at the channel.
yeah.
So if you're watching that, hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, like that part of it, I understood. Okay, here's where X, Y, and Z could end up happening. But there were also a lot of parts of this plan that was devised that were either made up of pure assumptions that we're making of, oh, okay, there won't be anybody else watching us. It will be fine. It will be fine that none of us are wearing masks. And then, like, the amount of, like, strangely specific information that a lot of them had about the bank, its history, how much money was occasionally transferred, when it was transferred. It's just like, how do you guys know all this? Is this bank putting this information on their Facebook page or something?
And the fact that Colin would put his family at risk. I mean,
Yeah.
Haley works at this bank. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't know, obviously, that she's part of this leprechaun family of,
Yeah.
whatever, but he does know that she works there. He does know that she has the codes, and he does know that by taking them, he's implicating her and putting her in a really difficult situation. That if he gets caught with this, or even if he doesn't and he brings home this gold, she's in an impossible situation because he's going to have to tell her that he did this. They took these codes, and then she's going to be in this impossible situation of, well, cool, then I can catch a crime too, or I can turn you in. So thanks for making my life better. Like, I just didn't buy that he would be willing to hurt his family as badly as he would have, even if she wasn't a leprechaun, that he was going to hurt his family this badly. He wasn't in enough desperation for this.
The first couple of minutes of this episode, I will admit, I felt like it had some potential because it felt like there was some lightheartedness. There was the leprechaun story that was going on at the pub. Like, there was some ridiculous elements there.
Mhm.
Then that reenactment happened, and this reenactment felt like it went on for 2 hours. And I guess it's not even a reenactment, they're just planning it out. But it just felt like we were watching them plan this heist out forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I thought as we were watching this that this is how it was actually happening. That was like, oh, this will be the plan. And then we're kind of getting this cut to it actually happening.
Yeah.
Once I got to the end of it and it was like, and this is what we'll do, I was like, oh my God, why did I just waste all this time watching what hasn't happened? This is what you guys think is going to happen. This episode was too long. For real. It dragged.
Yeah, and by the time they got through that reenactment, it felt like whatever enthusiasm I had about this episode had basically gone away at that point. And I was mostly, I don't want to say completely checked out, but I was fairly checked out. And they were really going to have to reel me back in. But instead, they didn't, because the rest of the episode continued to move at as glacial a pace as humanly possible.
Yeah, so they finally get to the bank, the vault doors open, and it doesn't go to an actual vault. It goes to some mine shaft that gets you to the end of this mine shaft, and then you're where this big pot of gold basically is at the bottom of this well, wrapped up in a cage. Not one person is like, where's the actual vault? Where are all the lock boxes? There's nothing in here. No one's like, why is there a mine shaft at the end of the staircase? Why is there a giant cage locked up with gold? It was so odd. And I expected at least one person to say, something's not right here. This doesn't look right.
I'm still obsessed over the fact that this big pot of gold was basically, as far as we could tell, visible from this well.
Right.
That was about, so all these people could have just been looking down at this gold all this time. And that's only how many missing people ended up happening as a result of all this. I feel like if you're putting a giant pot of gold where everyone can constantly see it, there's going to be at least like 2 people trying to steal this every single day.
I agree. I feel like there needed to be, I know this would conflict with the story, but there needed to be way more missing people where, the leprechauns would obviously be eating more.
Yeah.
And that was part of the plot, is that they weren't eating enough. But you're going to have this huge well right in the middle of town that people are passing by. And it sounds like it's a bit of a smaller town. I feel like every person in town would have looked down that well.
Yeah, that didn't pass the smell test even in the slightest. So at this point in the story, I'm just sitting here at this point being like, all right, when's the leprechaun going to show up? When's the leprechaun going to kill these people? I was full on rooting for the leprechaun at about, 15 minutes of this episode.
Yeah, and then he shows up wearing long johns, and I was just like, How did you guys mess this up so much?
It's the most important thing that a show like this needs is you need to have a cool adversary or
Yeah.
somebody that's memorable. I mean, we talked about this in the episode X with Alice, who was,
Mhm.
a little bit more complicated. We won't spoil it here if you haven't watched that episode yet, but that character was really memorable and striking, and this leprechaun was just bad. And you're putting all this with this other story that dragged eternally, where you had Haley back with her Gran, who was played by June Squibb. And I'm not just saying they wasted her because she was on this terrible episode, but also you have somebody who is like this accomplished. Can't you give her, I don't know, something funny to say? Can't you give her a few interesting lines other than just asking for her medicine? That was so boring, those scenes, and that could have been something so much fun.
And I think the Haley reveal could have been so much better than
Yeah.
it was as well, where like obviously she's really conflicted about what's going to happen to Colin, but she shouldn't have been nearly as quiet about what's going to happen to the rest of them because she didn't like them anyways.
Yes.
Just kind of be like, okay, Leprechaun, go deal with that, like, and be a little more excited about it. Okay, these guys are finally going to be out of our lives. They're always around, causing trouble for my family, for Colin. Like, get them out of here. And then when the reveal is here, it's like, oh yeah, I took this one coin. She's like, oh no. I expected it to be somewhat emotional, but I didn't expect it to drag out. There was a minute where he bent down and kissed her belly, her pregnant belly, and I was like, please, please have this baby burst through her stomach, leprechaun style, and drink his blood. That will save this episode for me. But no, it was emotional. It dragged on and on and on and on. I was like, oh God,
That
how
would
much
have
longer
been
is left?
your evil baby. That would have been the one time I would be pro evil baby on any of these shows, because that baby could have spared us from whatever that melodramatic nonsense was at the end of this. It's
Yeah,
just,
he just allowed himself to die, or he was
yeah,
just like, "Oh, okay, you're a leprechaun. Oh man, I
yeah,
really messed up." That like I'm like, you just learned that your woman is a
yeah,
leprechaun of centuries of leprechauns, and you're just what folding?
yeah.
Oh well, I guess if you gotta kill me, you gotta kill me. It's just the way it is. Tell my baby I love. Why are you not running out of this place?
This episode, it needed to do one of two things. It either needed to be so dark and intense and well thought out that it really brought you into this world and kind of did something different, or it needed to be just so unbelievably silly and stupid that we all just had a good time watching it. It is okay to be silly and stupid. I wanted it to be 35 minutes, really fast pace. Everybody's ridiculous. The leprechaun's ridiculous. Haley's ridiculous at the end. And we just have a good, crazy time with all of it.
Leprechaun baby
Yes.
bursting out alien style.
Yes. Instead, you guys decided, we're going to try to be serious. But because you guys couldn't pull this off properly, and because you didn't sort of think through the mythology, make the characters interesting, like get us really invested, everything fell flat. If you're going to be this dark, we have to at least care about the characters that are robbing the bank, because then we feel something when they get taken out. Or we care enough about the leprechaun that it's really awesome when they're taking them out.
I thought that this was going to either be really campy or really scary. That first scene
Yeah.
with the guy with the lantern whistling, I'm like, okay, maybe it's going to be a little
Yeah.
bit campy. Goes over to the well, falls in, and then the camera pans over and it looks like we're looking at maybe like a log or
Yeah.
something. And then quickly you get to see the leprechaun. I'm like, ooh, okay, a little bit of camp, but you guys just gave me a little jump scare. I'm in. Let's go. And now we're here. We're here. This is easily the worst of this second part of this season. I did not like this episode at all.
Yeah, this may be the most we have hated a single episode of television in a very long time here at the channel. Like, I can't remember the last time neither one of us came on here and had like nothing redeemable to say. Like, I even kind of admired the campiness of that Maisie Day episode of Black Mirror, and I'm the only one who did. Everybody else hated that episode.
No, I hated that episode. That was up here with this Leprechaun episode. I was not nice to that episode. It was terrible.
I would
Yeah,
watch
you were much nicer to that episode.
I'd watch Maisie Day 100 times over having to watch this again. I don't know what I would need a pot of gold in order to be convinced to watch this episode
No,
again.
I would set myself on fire than have to watch this or Maisie Day again.
Well, that is what you flip. One, please don't set yourself on fire. And two, that is our full review of American Horror Stories Season 3, Episode 8. We have one more to watch here on this end. Let's hope the season ends better, but be sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys do not miss any of our other reviews, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below. We're covering the Penguin exclusively there, and we'll see you here next time.